and then we can just start again and pretend like none of that happened. How do you do, fellow humans? Where I'm coming from. Okay, I'm gonna edit that. Ow, why the f did I touch my eye? Okay, so I cooked with jalapenos to make dinner today, and I've washed my hands 3 times since then, and I still can't touch my face without it catching on fire. So I've got a bone to pick with people, specifically people who use the phrase "in this day and age." I've been hearing the phrase "in this day and age" a lot recently, and it's really starting to get on my nerves. 99% of the time I hear this phrase is used by an older gentleman, usually a religious older gentleman, complaining about how awful humanity has become. But I take issue with this phrase for 2 main reasons. Let's get into it. I hate how I said that. That makes me very uncomfortable. But I take issue with that for 2 main reasons. Let's get into it. First of all, it's a dumb and redundant phrase. In this day. So I doubt when people use this phrase that they literally mean today. I think they mean more as a general time frame, like in those days. So it's basically just a non-specific time frame. And age. What age are they talking about? I have no idea, and if I'm being honest, I don't think the people that are using this phrase know what age they're talking about either. Do they mean the information age or the Anthropocene or some other age? I have no clue. Sometimes you might be able to tell from the context, but usually it's just another non-specific time frame. So instead of using the phrase "in this day and age," you could basically substitute it with "in this non-specific time frame," "in this non-specific time frame," and be saying basically the exact same thing. Secondly, it's just not an accurate thing to say. Like I said near the beginning, I have never heard this phrase used in another way except to describe how far humanity has come from God and how awful we are now. Now, I'm not going to argue that there aren't bad people in the world, that's self-evident. However, I would argue that, first of all, that's the vast minority of people, and secondly, people have always been this way. Literally, the 3rd person to ever exist, according to the Bible, killed his brother because God didn't like his veggies. That's kind of messed up. And that was just the 3rd person. And like, yeah, people are still killing people, but I feel like most of the time they're being killed over more legitimate things than because God didn't like their vegetables. There has always been and always will be a subset of humanity that are horrible and not good and are just bad. And that has always been, and it always will be like that. Because humans are bad. Pompeii, Sodom and Gomorrah. Heck, 1,500 years into God's creation, he decided to wipe it all out because they were so bad. And you're trying to make the argument that today people are specifically bad? That's ludicrous. People have always been bad, and they always will be bad. But I don't think that it's the majority of people that are bad. I think it's a very small minority that are much more vocal and visible because they are the ones that are messing everything up for everyone else. I think that the vast majority of people do what they think is right. There's a passage somewhere in the Bible, I think it's in Judges or something like that, where it's talking about how everyone does what they think is right. And now that's not necessarily the best thing because it's not what God in the Bible wants, but everybody's doing what they think is right. They're not doing horribly awful things that they know are bad. And I think it's just like that today. Everyone's doing what they think is right. The only problem is there's so many different definitions of what is right based on different political views and different religious views that no matter which one you are part of, there's going to be a lot of people who, according to your whatever it is, are bad, even though they themselves are trying to do what they think is right. So that's where it gets messy, and I don't really know what I'm saying. I'm going to try and piece this together into a thing that makes sense. But anyway, I just want to finish my rant and say that yes, people have been bad forever. Please stop using the phrase "this day and age," because it's not a good phrase. First of all, it doesn't make sense. And secondly, it's just not true. Because people have been bad forever, and people will continue to be bad, but most people are good. Or try to be, at least. So, happy days. And age. I don't know which one of those I'm going to use. Probably not the ASMR one. If I use the ASMR one, I will leave this in as an apology for using that, because I realize that that is not a thing that most people would want to watch. And I'm not going to use that one. Or maybe I will. Let's see. Just takes a little bit of poop in the pot to compromise the whole meal. Like, if I don't want to use that, that's not a thing I want to put in this video.